Welcome back to Ranch Beat, where every country song has a story, and we tell it. Today I want to try a tiny experiment with you. I'm going to read 2 short lyric bits. One is a straight image, no list, and the other is a quick roll call of objects. Tell me which one already told you a life. First, she stood at the window, watching the rain. Simple, evocative. Now, she locked the back door, left the coffee on the counter, kissed the baby on the head, grabbed the blue Ford keys. Which one told you more? Which one handed you a neighborhood, a schedule, a class? Fast.
You hear it right away. Those items do cargo work. They carry place and habit. That's what we call an inventory lyric, a catalog of objects or chores that pulls a whole character into focus without spelling everything out.
Today's promise, we're teaching the list read, a repeatable listening habit so you can spot when a string of details is doing the heavy lifting of characterization. We'll look at 3 case studies, check who actually picks these items in the songwriting process, and finish with a practical listening lab you can try on your commute.
Quick roadmap. Define inventory lyric versus decorative detail. Then 3 case studies, a working class checklist, a domestic inventory that flips perspective, and a regional object list that becomes communal. After that, who's behind the choices, common misreads, music notes for non-musicians, and the guided listening lab.
Okay, define time. What's an inventory lyric, and how is it different from a pretty image? An inventory lyric strings items together with purpose. Decorative detail dresses a scene. Inventory does narrational work. It stakes out place, encodes routine, signals class, or flips meaning. Listen for cadence, repetition, and whether the list shows up at a pivot, like the chorus or first verse.
A couple of quick signals. 1, those items often come in a compact rhythm, short nouns and verbs that stack. 2, they're specific. Blue Ford keys beats car, because specificity carries proof. And 3, they often repeat or return as a motif. That's how a list becomes a character shorthand.
Let's roll this back to the beginning. How did cataloging objects enter country songwriting? This is where the folk tradition meets Nashville craft. Folk ballads have always used lists to memorialize. Think of those old sea shanties and trade songs that read like inventories. Country inherited that practicality. Lists fit oral storytelling and radio-friendly phrasing.
By the mid-20th century, Nashville co-writing brought a more deliberate approach. Writers started treating lists as economy, achieve character, scene, and motive in 2 lines. Producers and session players could build arrangement textures around those repeating items. So lists weren't accidental, they were a craft choice.
Now here's the payoff. 3 case studies that show how lists do different jobs. Case study 1, the working class checklist. Imagine a narrator who's not framing heartbreak in metaphors, but in tasks. Clock, wrench, lunch pail, overtime. Those items establish credibility. This is someone who moves by schedule and labor, not just feeling.
For this example, I'll point you to documented sources, songwriter interviews, and liner notes that confirm the writer drew from real shift work. When you find a list like that, verify with at least one source, a published interview, a credited co-writer's note, or publishing metadata. That keeps us honest and avoids over-reading a line that exists for rhyme.
Here's what the list does in practice. It sets stakes. If the chorus returns to clock out, turn the wrench, put the lights on, you know the narrator's world is practical and constrained. That changes how you hear the heartbreak. It's not poetic longing, it's deprivation measured in hours. And this is where the trouble starts. Sometimes listeners forget to check whether the list is literal or symbolic. Our mitigation: always label interpretations as interpretations and tie them to at least one public source when possible.
Case study 2, domestic inventory as reversal. Instead of items proving routine, a list of household objects can reframe agency. Say the chorus catalogs dishes in the sink, boots by the door, the dress on the chair. The sequence can flip a scene from victimhood to quiet independence, depending on who's doing the listing and where the emphasis falls.
Here's where context matters: songwriter intent and the singer's delivery. A line read flat can feel resigned. The same items sung with small pride can feel like reclamation. When possible, check artist statements or early demos. Sometimes the demo vocal shows if the writer heard the list one way and the final artist took it another.
Case Study 3. Regional Signifiers and Communal Lists. In some songs, a roll call of objects becomes an emblem for a place. The county fair truck, the diner pie, the rusted silo. Repeated across songs in a scene, those items turn into shorthand for where a community stands culturally and economically.
Why it matters. A regional list can become an anthem. Fans hear those objects and feel recognized. And for historians, those lists are breadcrumbs. Use regional press, session player quotes, and album notes to verify whether those objects were chosen for authenticity or for radio-friendly color.
Let's pause for a reality check. Who picks the details? Sometimes it's the songwriter alone. Often it's a co-write where one writer supplies a line, the other shapes rhythm. Producers may nudge a demo towards simpler nouns so the hook lands. That's why publishing splits and demo timelines matter. They tell you who added what and when.
I promised we'd avoid confusing jargon. For listeners who don't live in the publishing world, think of a demo as the writer's blueprint. Publishing credits tell you who gets songwriting credit. If an item shows up only after the producer got involved, that's a different story than if it's in the first demo. Look for interview dates and demo release notes. Those are your clues.
Drama and myths, 2 quick cautions. 1. Don't assume symbolic depth where the choice was pragmatic. 2. Primary source evidence can be scarce. Our rule: if we present a symbolic reading on air, we'll tie it to at least one public source or label it as interpretation. Full citations will appear in the show notes.
Music notes for non-musicians. 3 simple cues that make a list land. 1. Placement. Lists often sit at the top of a chorus or verse. 2. Repetition. Hearing the same items or structure again signals narrative weight. 3. Cadence. Short trochaic or iambic beats give lists a marching rhythm that makes them memorable. Try tapping the beat as you listen, and you'll start hearing the list's architecture.
Okay, listening lab. This is practical. I want you, right now or on your next walk, to pick 3 songs you know. Step 1, extract the first list you hear. Just write the items down. Step 2, ask for each item. Does it name a place, a job, a memory, or a communal sign? Step 3, check the show notes for sources we've linked, or try a quick search for songwriter interviews to see if those items are mentioned.
Here's the single question that will change how you hear inventory lyrics. What does each item do? Does it prove who the narrator is, place them in a community, set a time, or flip our expectations? Ask that once, and you'll start hearing the scaffolding behind the lyric.
Before we close, quick myth busting. If you can't find a demo or an interview, don't force a biography. Present the list reading as a useful lens, not a definitive life story. And when you do find a confirmation, liner notes, publisher entries, or an interview, celebrate it. That's what keeps listening honest.
Wrap up. Lists in country songs are shorthand and evidence. They can make a chorus carry a neighborhood, a paycheck, a kitchen, or a whole hometown. Next time you hear a roll call in a chorus, ask that one question. What does each item do? And then you'll never hear that song the same way again.
If you liked this episode and want more listening tools, subscribe to Ranch Beat, leave a rating, and drop the next cataloged lyric you want decoded in the comments or our DMs. We'll pick one listener submission for the next listening lab.
Credits and sources are in the show notes. Links to the interviews, liner notes, and publishing records we mentioned. We followed the mitigation rule. Wherever we offered a symbolic reading, we noted a source or labeled it as interpretation. Go check the notes if you want to dig deeper. Ranch Beat, where every country song has a story, and we tell it. Thanks for listening. Until next time, keep your ears open and your notebooks handy.